Alright guys, if you're like me, Pokemon is just part of who you are. I'm a 90s baby. I was born in 94. I grew up during the Pokemon craze with the anime, the card game, and of course, the video games. And now that with the video games has spawned so many spin-offs, and that's what we're here to talk about today. We did our last time you saw each major Nintendo franchise, and in that video I skipped over all the Pokemon spin-offs, and you guys asked me to do that as its own video. So here we go, guys. We're going to be tackling the Pokemon spin-offs. There's a little bit of order, a little rhyme or reason. Some of the more obscure stuff we're going to gloss over. Some of the ones I found more interesting we'll spend more time with, but there are so many Pokemon spin-offs. Each one can't get 5 minutes, or else this video would be several hours long. I'm pretty convinced. So let's dive into it, guys. We're going to start with Pokemon Smile. Pokemon Smile was a mobile app designed to get kids smiling, specifically while brushing their teeth. It seeked to capitalize on the success of Pokemon Go and filters used in several other picture-taking apps. I cannot seem to find the last update for Pokemon Smile, but it seems you can catch the first two regions' Pokemons. Pokemon was making a habit of trying to spice up boring everyday activities such as walking and, like we said, brushing your teeth. And even sleeping. Yes, you heard that right. Sleeping got its own app with Pokemon Sleep. Admittedly, this one does look kind of okay. I do plan on downloading it. It does seem to still be receiving updates. Apparently there is a Suicune event going on right now. Pokemon Magikarp Jump is a hilarious concept about training your Magikarp to be the best jumper in town. While you can still download this title from mobile shops, it appears to have stopped receiving updates. Okay, I'm going to lump together Pokemon Shuffle with the Pokemon Trozei series. Pokemon Trozei got a spin-off. That game stopped. Then it seemed to have been replaced by Pokemon Shuffle. Essentially, they're the match 3 kind of games of the Pokemon universe. Either way, both Pokemon Shuffle and Trozei have stopped receiving updates at this moment. Pokemon Cafe, to me, seems to be the next logical progression for Shuffle and Trozei, in that it's another kind of match style game. It does seem to have extra layers, though admittedly I haven't played this one. Pokemon Cafe Mix got rebranded to Pokemon Cafe Remix in 2021. Now, Pokemon Duel sounds really cool. It was released on mobile and was a strategy board game of sorts. This is one I wish I had played back in the day, as sadly, it is no longer receiving updates. Alright, Pokemon Master EX. This mobile app definitely looks like one of the more interesting ones so far. It started back in 2019 and looks to still be receiving updates as it's celebrating its 5th year anniversary. It also has new story content with the updates centering around Goldingo. Let me know if you played this one. I might just have to check this one out. Alright, now to one that I play and actually enjoy, and that's Pokemon United. It is a fun 4v4 battle arena game available on mobile and eShop. I play this one with my wife. I really dig it. It has a growing roster of Pokemon and support items. It's still receiving updates as often as the last couple of months. Let me know. Who's your main down below? Pokemon Go remains a juggernaut in the mobile scene. They've recently added Dynamax into the game as it continues to add layers to an already addicting game. This is one I play frequently as updates have been consistent for its lifespan. Pokemon TCG was a standalone game here in the United States on the original Game Boy. However, it got a Japanese exclusive sequel titled Pokemon Card GB2 Team Great Rocket is Here. Boy, I feel like they could have workshopped that name. Still, Pokemon TCG is now a standalone program, which is updated often with each new set. Moving on to one of my favorites is Pokemon Rumble. Pokemon Rumble started life as a WiiWare title, which I still remember downloading this game. It has received several sequels during its decade-long run, its last one being Pokemon Rumble on mobile in 2020. Unfortunately, it has since been retired. Pokemon Pinball debuted on Game Boy Color in 1999 and received one sequel when the Pokemon franchise moved over to the GBA line of handhelds with Ruby and Sapphire. The game expanded on some mechanics from the first one and added the Hoenn Pokemons to the roster. Pokemon Puzzle League is an interesting one. Apparently the game began life as a Panel de Pon title before reworking the engine into a Pokemon-style game. The game would go on to receive a sequel of sorts on the Game Boy Color titled Pokemon Puzzle Challenge in 2000, which added Johto Pokemons to the mix. Now we're getting into some juicy ones. Pokemon Stadium originally started development as a Japanese exclusive in what people have named Pokemon Stadium Zero. This was during the DD, the Nintendo 64 DD line of development, before ultimately getting scrapped for the cartridges we know nowadays. Pokemon Stadium Zero featured a limited roster of only 40 Pokemons. It would go on to get 2 sequels that would get localized here in the States. The last game, Pokemon Stadium 2, expanded on minigames, trainers, and of course, Pokemon, adding in the lovable cast of Johto. Hey You Pikachu is a childhood favorite of mine that is often maligned. It was released alongside a Pikachu console and microphone. The console being one of my gaming grails. While we're here, let's go ahead and knock out its pseudo-spiritual successors. The first being Pokemon Channel, a sequel of sorts to Hey You Pikachu, where you and Pikachu watch TV channels and interact with the environment and other Pokemons. It released in 2003 on the GameCube. Moving up to the Wii, that gets us to Pokepark, a wonderful concept for a video game. Pokepark removes the humans and gives us what we want, a world of just Pokemon. Pokepark got an actual sequel on the Wii in 2012 with Pokepark 2 Wonders Beyond. Alright, let's hop back down to the GameCube era of Pokemon where we'll be tackling the Colosseum games. Pokemon Colosseum blew my mind as a kid. It took concepts I loved from Pokemon Stadium and Hey You Pikachu and combined them into one game. It was a 3D open world Pokemon game, which is all I could ask for as a kid. The Pokemons were great, the shadow mechanics had some wonder about it, the music was groovy, and the characters were solid. It was hard to ask for more than this as a 10-year-old Poke fanatic. Pokemon XD Gala Darkness is a sequel of sorts to Colosseum, still featuring Team Cypher, the Shadow Pokemons, and the Ore region, despite having a different cast of characters. Gala Darkness dropped on the GameCube in 2005. Guys, this is going to bring us to the comment question of the day. Which Pokemon spinoff do you want to see make a comeback? I love Stadium, I love Pokemon Rumble, I love Pokepark, but I would love Pokemon Colosseum to get either ported over to the Switch in a 2-pack combo or to see life in a new game. Let me know which Pokemon spinoff gets your vote down in the comments below. Next up is Pokemon Battle Revolution. This game did always feel like a spiritual successor to Stadium. It revisited the same narrative scheme as Stadium, as well as being able to transfer your Pokemons from your handheld adventures. Pokemon Battle Revolution released on Wii in 2007. Let's hop over to the DS for a strange but unique Pokemon entry. That's Pokemon Conquest. Like most Pokemon spin-offs, Conquest was not developed by Game Freak, instead by Koei Tecmo, the creators of Dynasty Warrior. As such, Pokemon Conquest is a tactical strategy game. Pokemon Conquest came out in 2012. Pokemon Rangers is a handheld spin-off that received 2 sequels, the last one being Guardian Signs in 2010. Based on the fact this game was so touchscreen dependent, makes me wonder if they'll ever bring the series back. Pokemon had its own typing game during the 5th generation of the Pokemons. Learn with Pokemon Typing Adventure dropped on DS in 2011 in Japan. Interestingly enough, this game got European releases, but not here in the States. Pokemon Dream Radar wanted to showcase the AR camera function of the 3DS. It's a pretty neat novelty spin-off. While they were at it, Nintendo was proving you could throw Pokemon on basically anything. Pokemon Art Academy, released in 2014 on 3DS, has pretty much exactly what it sounds like, allowing players to use Pokemon to unlock their inner artist. And like in the last time we saw every Mario spin-off, Pokemon got its own Picross game, this time on 3DS in 2015, featuring hundreds of puzzles straight from the jump. Detective Pikachu is a spin-off that has gotten a lot of love, including a sequel and a movie. Now that is putting respect on Pikachu's name. Detective Pikachu Returns came out on Switch in 2023. Continuing on with the Switch, we find another one that I played quite a bit while I was waiting for Super Smash Bros. To drop, and that's Pokemon Quest, another free-to-play eShop game. And this one has more of an interesting story than most of the games we're talking about. And I'm not talking about a campaign mode. Apparently a Chinese company owns the rights to this game, so the only way to get updates for it is to use some form of spoofing like VPN. Pretty wild to see something like that happening to a Pokemon game. Pokken started life as an arcade unit before moving to home consoles on Wii U. It proved popular enough to get ported over to the Switch with new modes and characters. Pokken Tournament DX dropped in 2017 on Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Snap was long thought to be left for dead back on the N64 after fans begged for its revival on the Wii U. Years later on the Switch, we would finally get new Pokemon Snap in 2021. The on-rail photo shooter has proved to remain a fan favorite. I don't know about you guys, but Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is the game I think of when I think of Pokemon spin-offs. But it's actually been a while since we've gotten a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon came out on 3DS in 2015. Sure, the original did get an updated port on Switch, but even that was 4 years ago. Red Rescue Team did just get added to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion, which is cool to see, but I wonder if the franchise will remain dormant as far as new games are concerned. I'm not really sure if I should be putting the Let's Go series here, if they're worth bringing up yet, as they're just 3D HD reimaginations of Generation 1, but I personally really like these and hope they continue to make more. But right now I'm not holding my breath. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee released in 2018, the early years of the Switch's lifespan, and I don't feel like we've heard anything since about a sequel. Alright guys, we're going to get into some pretty weird ones here, but before we do that, please consider liking and commenting. We'd also love it if you subscribe to the channel. Now let me show you guys some strange Pokemon spin-offs. How about, like, Pokemon Play It? This was a PC Pokemon game meant to showcase the TCG. It released in 2000 and actually received a version 2 sometime later. Pokemon Studio released using the same split model as the original Game Boy games. A red version and a blue version containing different Pokemons were released for PC in 1999. The game is a simple arts and craft game, but I would have eaten this up as a 5-year-old, I tell you what. Pokemon Master Arena is another PC game. This one takes place in the 3rd generation of Pokemon and appears to be a series of mini-games. It released on PC in 2004. That brings us to Pokemon Team Turbo, another PC game that released in 2005. It contains some cute mini-games and a strange-looking racing mode, if that's what we're calling this. Not sure what's so turbo about it, though. Speaking of racing games, Pokemon Dash would release as a launch title for the original DS. I remember wanting this pretty badly as a kid, but I never got to it. In hindsight, I've learned this is not a beloved spin-off. What do you guys think about Pokemon Dash? Does it deserve the hate? I've never played it. Should I bother going back and playing it now? How about we move to the arcade? Yes, Pokemon has gotten some really interesting arcades, most of which seem to be Japanese exclusive arcades. I couldn't really find any English arcades. I'm not even 100% sure how to say this one, so I'm just going to call it Pokemon Ole, maybe. It looks pretty interesting. It works off of Pokemon scan cards that you insert into the arcade unit. I found a YouTuber who goes to arcades and play it. I'll link him in the description, as it's probably better for you to just watch the footage. His username is MJoshuaJ. If you want to check him out, feel free to do that after this video. How about Pokemon Battle Trio? I've seen it called a couple of different names. I'm going to call it Battle Trio for this game, or for this video. It's another arcade spin-off. This one works off of coins that look like poker chips. Basically, there's a field of play in front of you, and you put your chips down. I guess it's like a row of 3, maybe. And you put your chips down, and then your Pokemon will emerge on the screen based off of where you put them on the field. Again, another Japanese-only arcade, so I couldn't make out everything that was going on, but trust me when I say it looks pretty awesome. And this game did well enough to get a sequel, Pokemon Shredda, maybe? And then that would go on to get a handheld sequel on the 3DS. And if I'm understanding it correctly, it's called Dahubbz, and came with a scanner periphery or accessory for your 3DS to scan the chips. That seems pretty sweet. I did not expect this to be quite the rabbit hole it turned out to be. I was watching YouTube videos over this stuff, trying to figure it out. It looks really awesome, but this is where I'll say, if any of you guys are from any of these Asian countries where you have access to these Pokemon arcades, or you've traveled to any of these countries that have these arcades, please feel free to share your stories or share information over them. I've watched videos. I did a little bit of reading, but you know, if you guys were able to actually play them, that'd be really cool to hear your guys' stories. And like with Ole, you can look up commercials or YouTubers playing these games. There are videos of them, so it is kind of neat. I wish they had made it stateside. They're kind of like a novelty at this point, but it's kind of cool to see that they exist and everything. Alright, apparently there are games called Pokemon Photo Booth and Pokemon Dance. I saw them listed on websites. Could not find the first bit of information about either one. You try to put up Pokemon Dance, it brings up like remix songs or dancing Pikachus. Like, just cannot find the game. And if you bring up Pokemon Photo Booth, it brings up stuff to do like Pokemon photo shoots. I don't know. I had no luck looking these games up, so if any of y'all have any more information, please feel free to let us know down in the comments. Alright, for this video, I won't be touching on any games that feature Pokemons, like Super Smash Bros. We also won't be touching the board games. But if you'd like me to talk about the board games, please feel free to leave comments over which ones you'd like. I actually have, I'm looking at it, but I can't see its name, the first board game. I don't remember if it's called like Pokemon Master Quest or what it's called, but I have the first board game. If you'd like to see a video over that, let me know down below. There's also something called the Pokemon Mini that has its own series of games. I think Pokemon Tetris or something like that is one of them. I will not be addressing that really in this video. Again, if you're interested in the Pokemon Mini, I can make that into its own video, other than just like glossing over it real quick. So that brings us to the last spinoff I want to talk about today, and that is Legends Arceus. I saved this one for last because, as far as we know, it's going to be the most recent Pokemon game at some point here in the near future. It's arguably my favorite Pokemon spinoff or arguably my favorite Pokemon game on the Switch. It came out in 2022 and has a sequel set to come out in 2025 with Pokemon Legends ZA. So, per usual, when trying to tackle every of anything, we're bound to leave something off. I double-checked my list, I scoured several websites. These are the games that I could find. I tried to tackle the arcades, I tried to tackle the PC games, and I tried to tackle the several handheld spin-offs and console spin-offs. So, this is where I turn it over to you guys. If I left anything off, feel free to leave it in the comments. It's how we grow as a community. It's how we learn. So hopefully this video is a great starting point for you guys as you Pokemon collectors. If you're missing something, you know, you can use this video as a reference. I guess one last disclaimer. I did not include any of the Pokemon storage-based apps. Pokemon Home, Pokemon Ranch, Pokemon Box. I did not include any of those games. Yes, they exist. They're mostly like software for storing your Pokemons. If you're a GameCube collector, you know Pokemon Box is like the most expensive Pokemon game. The only one I was even tempted to do a little bit of research outside of Pokemon Box, just for the sheer novelty of it, was Pokemon Ranch, because that game actually looked pretty cool as a kid, but I decided not to touch on it. But do be aware that the Pokemon storage boxes games exist, I guess. So that's all I have to say, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you have anything additional to add to any of these games, any bit of knowledge or tidbits about them, comment down below. But I am all Pokemon'd out, so if you guys will excuse me, I'm gonna go take a nap. Maybe I can finally catch that Suicune. Peace out, everybody.